Charlie Hodgson in his last game before retirement.
It's in the and off we go for the start of the women's 10K.
One more turn of the pedal and Sir Mark Cavendish takes it.
They say a sports star dies twice. One when they hang up their boots, or in this case, step off their bike. For those who've given everything to their sport, when the cheers stop and their career ends, if you're not an athlete anymore, what are you?
Being an athlete and retiring, your life's pretty much on hold, and then you get to early 30s, or in my case 28, and it's kind of like, right, life starts again now, but I'm so different, in a different world that you're not comfortable in or don't know people in. And yeah, it's a real struggle.
You make a lot of sacrifices for it, and I think it's about knowing when to stop in a healthy way, because you don't want to push yourself to the brink and have no way to come back from that. I don't think that happens to many athletes, or if it does, you don't hear of it often, and it's something that we need to talk about more.
Even now, so I've got friends and I've got clients that are at top championship football clubs, and sometimes I go and watch them train, and I'm there and I'm so jealous. I'm watching training and I'm so jealous. The standard, the facilities, the coaching of how it's got now. So I don't think the grieving will ever fully go away, but certainly there's an initial period of real high level grief that you have to get through.
For decades they lived for the game. The passion, the grit, the glory, and even the defeats. Every moment was about chasing victory and making history.
Stephen Holmes will take about 5 wickets.
But what happens when the final whistle blows, the lights fade, and the crowd goes home?
I woke up one morning and I just didn't want to play anymore. So it was a relief. It was a relief it was over. It was a relief that it doesn't hurt anymore when I'd stopped playing.
I've had mental health problems ongoing, not just because of being an athlete, about being life as well, but I struggled because back then there was no platform or environment where you could talk about the strains of trying to achieve the highest level in sport.
From where you are now, if you could go back to your younger self when you had that injury, age 15, what would you say to yourself?
I'd say it's okay, you can have the time of your life.
This is the story of what comes next in the sporting afterlife. The challenges, the triumphs, and a search for identity beyond the podium.
In the UK, we often see professional sports people as heroes, gritty, determined, and living the dream. But behind the most famous footballers, swimmers, and rugby stars are over 10,000 elite athletes across 54 sports, all fighting for their place.
All over the world, athletic training programs are hotting up for next year's Olympic Games.
Every 4 years, the Olympics and Paralympics give us a glimpse into their world. But for 90% of them, the glory doesn't come with financial security. Just years of sacrifice to stay in the game. I've come to the St Albans athletics track to meet Jack Green, a double Olympian who represented Team GB at both London 2012 and Rio 2016 in the 400-metre hurdles and 4x400-metre relay events. Jack was once ranked among the world's top 10 in his discipline, and he retired in November 2019.
I'm really fortunate. It was my dream to be a professional athlete. So from the age of 7, I was writing stories about winning the 100 metres at the Olympic Games and beating Maurice Green, who was Usain Bolt before Bolt, but I wasn't fast enough at 100 metres and ended up in different events. But I went professional at 18 in the 400 metre hurdles. I've ended up being a world medalist, multiple European champion, finished 4th at the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games. But yeah, retired early at 28 years old. So.
Was your career in athletics kind of what you imagined at that age?
It's strange because I think at that age I would have looked at my career now and been like, wow, I would do anything for that. That's the dream. But during my career I would have said the other side of it, where I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve. I'm content with my career, but I definitely feel there's some things that could have been achieved that weren't. But yeah, young Jack would have been incredibly happy with with the results.
During London 2012, the weight of the pressure and expectations took its toll, and Jack fell. Despite all of his triumphs, what he saw in that moment was failure.
That was a big catalyst for the rest of my career and my life, really. So I was diagnosed with depression, bipolar tendencies, generalised anxiety disorder, and at that point considered a threat to my own life, which is incredibly sad considering I was 20 years old, finished 4th at a home Olympics, my dream, and yeah, at that point I was voted the most talented athlete of a generation in Britain, and stepped away, decided I needed to take a break because I was in such a poor place and needing that support. I had 2 years out to kind of manage my mental health. I didn't know it was going to be 2 years. It could have been forever, could have been a week, but 2 years, and then returned to the sport because in hindsight, I didn't know I could be or do anything else. It was the easiest decision was go back to being an athlete because I never knew I could be more than that.
Did you think there was still a lot of support available for you during your time out, and do you think that might be the same situation now, or would the level of support have changed?
I think I went public with my mental health, 2013, so 11 years ago now, and you think things have come a long way. I'm very proud of the work that I've done in mental health as an advocate, the work I do in workplace wellbeing and helping others in coaching, looking at the holistic side of things and the whole picture. But in hindsight, I would have never have gone public with my mental health had I known how much it would have affected my career. But it's just a shame that people like myself probably have to be damaged a little bit in terms of your own reputation and status to get to that point of being in a better place. So pleased I did it. Sport is definitely better now, society is better now. I think we're in a place where the awareness is much greater. I think most people agree that mental health exists at least, but the reality is the education of what that looks like and feels like is still lacking. Sport still is very old school and brutal. I believe I'm a good coach because I care about my people, and it might sound strange, but sports don't really care about their people.
Leaving professional sport isn't just a mental challenge, it's a financial one too. For athletes like Jack, the pressure of figuring out life beyond the game comes with the added stress of money worries, making that transition even tougher.
I wasn't funded for the last 5 years of my career. Last amount of funding I got was £9,000 a year to be a full-time athlete. That was part of my relay funding as part of the relay team. Here's £9,000 and you get medical, and the value was in the medical. But yeah, £9,000, that's not covering my rent, which is why I coached, I keynote speak, and I was working in a gym part-time, taking classes and so on, so that I could continue my career.
For many athletes, funding can be a major source of worry. In non-commercial sports, financial support largely depends on the National Lottery and the UK government, but it's often a tough balancing act to stay in the game. With funding lagging behind inflation, most full-time athletes earn less than £22,500 a year, while many scrape by on even less than that. Some are still on the same grants they received in 2012, despite the cost of living rising by nearly 40% since then. In real terms, that leaves even the best funded athletes over £11,000 worse off each year.
From Sweeney, takes a touch, crosses into the water middle, Simpson's there! And Robbie Simpson scored! On his return to the starting lineup, he's been out for over a year.
And it's not just athletic stars who feel the financial strain. When people think of professional footballers, many naturally assume they're pulling in a decent paycheck. But is that always the reality?
Hey Robbie, nice to meet you, man. How are you?
Nice to meet you too, yeah, very well, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
No problem at all, thanks for having me.
Across a 20-year career, Robbie Simpson made nearly 600 appearances in English football and played in the Championship, the second highest level of the game in this country. Yet he knows all too well that a football career is a short one, and most of the time, that money won't last forever.
My career, in terms of my football career, started, I'd say, pretty oddly compared to other footballers. I went through an academy system at Norwich City. I was there from when I was 9 until I was 16, and I got released via a letter through the post. Cried my eyes out, but I saw it as an opportunity. Well, I didn't. My parents saw it as an opportunity to push me towards education, but got the grade I wanted to at university, and then I was straight into becoming a professional footballer at championship level, which, being brutally honest with myself, is the highest level in terms of my ability I could see myself playing. So I've gone from being in a classroom to being a at the top level of my ability of football within the same month. I think for the general public, I think there's still the perception of sports people don't need help. They're millionaires and they've lived the dream, everyone's dream for a certain period, just get on with it. I don't care who you are, you'll need support. And in actual fact, because you've lived the dream and you've been in the public eye, sometimes it can hit harder.
Having played with several clubs over the years, including Brentford, Coventry, Cambridge United and Exeter City, when retirement finally came, reality set in.
It shouldn't be a scary time, but it really is, and I think it's because of the bubble. You're so ingrained into being a footballer and everything that entails, that when that bubble bursts, it is a big shock and it is really scary.
I know as a Yeovil Town fan, one of our former players sadly took his own life, and I think it was linked to his worries about retiring. Are sports people, and maybe footballers especially, left on a bit of a cliff edge?
It's a tough question to answer, because we have to help ourselves, but we need support to help ourselves. The pressure of being a sports person and winning on a Saturday or a race is so high. That pressure is higher than anything that I've come across. I might be biased because I'm a former sports person, but the pressure to win and succeed in sport, not only internally or from your coaches, but also externally from fans if you're a footballer, or the media or your union, like Olympic athletes, for example. If you're not successful, your funding gets cut for the next Olympic cycle. The pressure to succeed is so high, you feel like that you're jeopardising that if you're not fully focused on success in that sport.
Robbie now runs the platform Life After Professional Sport and RS19, a lifestyle financial planning company helping others navigate the challenges of managing their finances.
I'll create a medium to long-term plan, but very much personalised and very much relatable, because I've lived what they're living at this present moment. So helping people is my life now, and helping sports people in particular, I guess, is something I'm incredibly passionate in, and I love doing what I'm doing now, which is great, considering my younger self, all I ever thought was to be a professional footballer, and nothing else really entered my mind. But now I'm in a fully fledged new career, loving it just as much as football.
Making the transition from elite sport to everyday life isn't just about putting the boots away. It's about rebuilding who you are, both inside and out. For many athletes, their identity has been intertwined with their sport for years, and when that chapter closes, they're left trying to figure out who they are beyond the game. A 2023 study from Loughborough University reveals a staggering 71% of top British athletes face a serious identity crisis when transitioning out of their careers.
Hold your 2 medals up, and they are real.
Yeah, they are.
You're going to wake up tomorrow morning and they're still going to be under your pillow, probably.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Take double Olympic gold winner Dame Kelly Holmes, for example. After retiring, she struggled with her identity and purpose. No longer defined by her track success, she had to figure out who she was beyond the medals.
You can be, perceived to be one person, but actually people should get to know more about you. And I feel like I keep driving because I have that mentality as an elite athlete, of course, which is another skill we all have. But equally, I don't want to give up on myself. I don't want to go into oblivion, because I think I've worked too hard to push for what I did anyway, and now I'm still driven to do more. And the older I get, I feel I'm more driven, because I'm 20 years past retiring, and I won my 2 gold medals at 34, so I'm not young anymore. But I'm not prepared for anyone to think that I'm past still achieving some great things, because you learn from experience that you become more of a role model, a mentor, somebody to look up to. You can prove that you can keep going through your career transitions and still be successful if you know what your transferable skills are, and that is why it's important for athletes to find what they are.
After retiring, she founded the Dame Kelly Holmes Trust, where world-class athletes mentor young people. The Trust helps athletes navigate life after sport, while empowering the next generation with a winning mindset to shape their future.
So I started the charity to basically help transition sports people into new careers and find their transferable skills. But back then it wasn't charitable. No one really cared because they didn't realise the benefit of utilising these skills. So we went into working with young people from disadvantaged areas, trying to realise that an athlete who has gone through the highs and lows can actually have a really great skill set of motivating, encouraging and giving really valuable life lessons to young people. And that's how the Trust almost has a unique blend. And we're now 16 years old.
How important is it to kind of have those conversations early in sport?
Yeah, I think it's really important to identify what your mindset's going to be like when you come to the end of your career. Because what you have to remember is some athletes retire prematurely through injury, not getting selected for teams, just not being good enough at the time of their career and the stage of career to take it to the next level. And then you get those that have retired, that have either achieved wonderful things, might not have achieved everything they wanted, or nothing that they really expected. So you get that different mindset, but equally you have the same common understanding what it took to be a world-class sports person. So that whole commitment and highs and lows, determination, goal setting, you have so many things in common. So bringing them together is really powerful because you're bringing a community back. That's what we're used to. People around us that believe in us, trust us, want us to do well, then that sort of goes when you retire. So having both sides of the conversation I think is very important now, because you get those that are retired who are in that journey of where do I go next, what do I do, and you go those that are worried about retiring and holding on to the last bits, but also know that maybe they start to think about it, which I think again is very important.
For some, the end of a professional sporting career comes suddenly as an injury, a loss of form, or simply age just catching up. For others, the decision is theirs, but those challenges remain the same. Life beyond sport is uncharted territory. So what does the future look like for an athlete who's still living out their dream with no desire to retire anytime soon?
Back again at the velodrome for another session. Just rode from home. My leg is feeling quite good actually. A new seat on, so it's helping with my saddle sores. It's been absolutely painful down there.
This is Blaine Hunt, a Paralympic silver medalist and 3-time world champion who's been on a remarkable journey from trauma to triumph. Today he has only one thing on his mind: living out his dream for as long as he can.
Have you thought about your life when you do retire from professional sport?
Yes, I've thought about it, and I feel like I had a taster of it pre-becoming a full-time athlete, and I don't want for it to ever happen. So I'll go for as long as I can. No, I feel that having tasted real life and a full-time job pre-becoming an athlete, I would like for my sporting career to last as long as I can do. I'm having great fun doing it. I feel like my training age within cycling is still relatively young, and I'll go for as long as I can whilst I'm still enjoying the sport. But as I said before, it's having those things on the back burner that when that time does come, that transition's easier. You're also going to meet people along the way within your sporting environment, whether that's, you know, opening up an Allianz office or like a guest speaker appearance. You speak to people and then it's just building up that network so that it's an easier transition. You've got people to ask when the time does come, and then you can just seamlessly move into it rather than it being a big stress. You've been in this bubble, you've had nothing else going on, and then all of a sudden you're in the big bad world all on your own with no coaches to do anything for you. I feel like you've got to have it going before the time comes and have that foresight and just options. You've got to be the man with options or the girl with options.
Blaine's life was turned upside down after what was meant to be a simple knee surgery. A mistake on the operating table cut his popliteal artery, causing major complications that left him with lasting damage to his right leg.
I've had to have my Achilles tendon lengthened, my toes fused, I've had infections, like you name it, it's 25, 30 operations, and it's knocked on through everything, like from the very foundations of my education through to day-to-day life now. It's huge.
And yet you are a 3-time world champion, world record holder and silver Paralympian.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It feels good. I mean, I feel like it's a silver lining of something that was very negative. So I always try and look for a positive in something, and it's the best of a bad situation. Like, I don't think if that had have happened to me, I would have done half the things that I've done now. Like that happened, and this journey happened, and it's been amazing.
From where you are now, if you could go back to your younger self when you had that injury, age 15, what would you say to yourself?
I'd say it's okay. You can have the time of your life. You got me.
For athletes like Blaine, still very much in the height of their careers, thinking about a sporting afterlife can feel extremely daunting. But there is help out there.
Morning, how are we doing today? Okay, so Matt's kind of done the admin, Rob's introduced why we're here today. I think we all understand why we're here today. So let me just give you a little overview of today so you can manage your expectations through the day and manage your energy potentially. We're going to be talking about acceptance, which I would imagine for a lot of people in this room, accepting that your career has come to an end is a hard thing.
Switch Up the Play is the only charity of its kind in the UK dedicated to helping athletes transition into life after sport. From career coaching to mental health support, their work looks to transform the lives of anyone facing the uncertainty of the dreaded R word, retirement.
So today we're at the Evolve to Thrive launch. So this is a transition programme that we've put together alongside Dame Kelly Holmes Trust to provide an 11-month programme to support athletes who are coming towards the end of their careers or in that transition phase, to give them the support that they need to get to the place that they want to be in their lives beyond sport.
You're often encouraged in the workforce to think about your retirement early in terms of your pension and everything. Would you encourage all athletes to also have those conversations from an early age?
Yes, but I think it's about how you frame the conversation, because the reality is that we don't want to be the dream crusher. So we want everyone to achieve what they want to achieve in terms of fulfilling their ambitions through sport. But actually, we firmly believe, and there are lots of examples, that actually having a positive side hustle, showing an interest in developing those things in your life outside sport can help you in your sporting career as well. And there are countless sports people that you've probably spoken to and we have that have talked about the value of that, because actually by knowing they've got a plan for what they're doing next, actually it enables them to focus more on their sport when they're competing, because they don't have the concern about what next. And I think that's a really important message. This isn't about plan B, this is about extension of your life. It can help you in your performance of your sport. And ultimately, in terms of the future, you don't know when that point is going to come. So actually embrace the opportunities in front of you.
So acceptance in 2016 was that my career was over, my athletics career, and it truly died. So I had to accept that this gift that God had blessed me with, this Olympic dream, I had to accept the Olympic dream had died. And that was really heartbreaking, horrible.
Sessions like this can be crucial for those facing one of the toughest moments in their lives. While the weight of uncertainty about the future looms, the potential of what's to come is being carefully nurtured by those who truly understand the journey.
So I was a bit maybe apprehensive coming in today, but really willing to learn. Yeah, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been a good experience being able to kind of hear about Marilyn's experiences, relating a little bit in some instances, but hearing about new things as well. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and yeah, I feel like I've got a lot to learn. So yeah, this is hopefully the start of a great sort of year in mentoring.
One of the things I say is that we're constantly becoming our next. Like that's something that I really had to learn in retirement. It wasn't, you do grieve your past identity, your career, but you take a lot of it with you, and it's actually what is this evolution of who I'm going to be. So that's kind of what I want to get him out of his comfort zone and realise, we're more than just our sport. That was one hat that we're kind of, put it down for a bit, but you're never not that athlete, and those traits and everything you learn in that journey is going to stand you in good stead for whatever your next is. So it's actually a big opportunity. It's just hard in the moment, facing transition, facing change. Naturally, we're creatures of habit, but just encourage that boldness, and hopefully I'll try and, coax some of that out of him. It's going to be a two-way street. I'm going to be learning, as well, and just to be that sounding board. It's less about me saying, I did this. It's finding his way, and hopefully just some of my nuggets of wisdom, you say. Hopefully it's wise. But I do love discipline. We've been talking about it all day. Do love, prioritizing, problem solving, but also just taking audacious big steps towards your goals and your dreams.
The Evolve to Thrive session is also where we meet Stevie Ward, the former captain of the Leeds Rhinos rugby league team. He's been mentoring with Switch to Play for a few months now, drawing on his own experiences of life after retiring from professional rugby.
Just tell me a little bit about your career in sport for people who might not know.
Many ups and downs, mate, I'd say. In quite a career where I won quite a lot of trophies, and I won a grand final at 18 and went on to do things that was impossible, deemed impossible at the time, winning the treble and having all these highs and achievements and living the dream, mate, to be honest, like living my dream from being 18 years old when I probably should have still been dreaming about it at that point. Within that was a lot of challenges. A lot of time I felt depressed, a lot of time I felt lonely and often, asked a lot of questions like, what am I doing here? Like, this is
Did those feelings come directly from playing sport?
I think those questions came from just deciding to throw everything at what is sport and what was rugby league, which is a tough game. There's all a beauty in it as well,
Stevie says he was terrified when it came to letting go of his first love, and at times struggled with the idea of who he was going to be away from the pitch.
So I had a concussion just after being named captain at 26. I had a concussion in February 2020 and ended up retiring in 2021 when I realised I still wasn't getting better. Felt terrifying at times, felt very uncertain, and it felt it was grief. A lot of it was grief. It was my first love, playing rugby league. Apart from my mum, my dad and my twin sister and close family, it was like my first love. So it was all the stages of grief, really, anger and denial and depression. And I also think it's through that experience is a moment to remember where it all came from, and the performances where they came from. And
so when that is taken away, how long did it take you to put that kind of energy and everything you learned from sport into saying it's now time to do something else?
It wasn't so much a period of time where it was like 6 months, 7, 2 years. I don't think it was that. I think it was like small revelations, small glimpses into what feels like me. I often use that defensive line as a metaphor for life, because you go up to the defensive line, you feel the fear, you feel the uncertainty and the doubt and the trepidation, and I still get that in life now. But it's almost like when I feel that, what I want to do is know what's right, what's the right answer, what should I do here, and what's the next thing for me to do. But I feel like when I lean into it and feel the uncertainty and the risk, I end up going into the defensive line and copping a shoulder, but all of a sudden I come through the other side of it, and then I'm like, I knew it. I remember what's possible.
And just finally, you were a good friend of Rob Burrows. How do you remember him?
My memories of him were actually someone who made me feel safe, to be honest, and made me laugh all the time. We used to love Ricky Gervais' The Office, and that became our dialect, in a sporting world where things can get quite intense and serious. But Rob was able to be as good as he was, but fully just be a human being as well, and not get too carried away with it. Yeah, so I loved him quite a lot, actually, and I don't think he would have ever known how much of an impact he had on, obviously on the world, really. but you know, especially for myself.
Much like Stevie, Matt Locke, Switch the Play's athlete services manager, now devotes much of his life to helping others. For Matt, the transition out of semi-professional football was far more challenging than he realised at the time.
I never saw it as a major transition, but it was. And it's only now that I've hung the boots up completely that I've gone, actually my transition was not necessarily traumatic in a moment, but it was drawn out. And it was 15 years of probably experimenting with things and trying different jobs and maybe having that distraction of football, but never knowing the direction I really wanted to go in until I had a daughter and thought, probably need to sort myself out now. Sport has done so much for me. I don't look back with any regret. I don't look back and go, oh, I wish I hadn't played, or I wish I hadn't done this. It's taught me so much. It's made me the person I am today. And although at the time, like, things were tough and I faced many challenges, I wouldn't change any of it. I would not change any of it. Is it good for you? That's down to the individual. It's down to the human being. We are complex beasts and we all have different experiences and we overcome stuff in different ways and we face challenges in different ways. So it's down to the individual. The one thing I would say is you've got to sit with it. You've got to acknowledge it. You've got to let all the emotions in. You've got to give yourself a bit of space to process it, whether that's on your own or whether that's through some support. And then you'll probably have to work out whether it's been good for you or not.
Elite athletes live for the highs and the big wins. For many, life is controlled and their freedom is limited. So what happens when it all ends? Can the emotional roller coaster of sport push some down a darker path?
That sudden freedom, while for some will come as a huge relief, the end of a sports career might be a really good thing, but for others it's a complete loss of everything.
At the Lee Valley hockey pitch in London's Olympic Park, I'm catching up with former Wales international hockey player Lucy Shepherd-Marks. After a successful career in the military, Lucy went on to complete her PhD, exploring why some athletes turn to crime after retiring from sport.
So some athletes will have their very weight out of food, their measures of food will be controlled, the time they eat, what they wear, where they go, and suddenly that's gone. And that can result in a real feeling of being rudderless, feeling that you have no control over anything. That sudden freedom, while for some will come as a huge relief, the end of a sports career might be a really good thing, but for others it's a complete loss of everything. And for some people that will be enough to send them, to derail them and make them feel very, very lost and make poor decisions, make them very vulnerable at that point to actions and activities that could be very negative to them. I think there's real value, and it's a piece of work that I think needs to be done about using those people who have been through the criminal system, who were athletes, and using their experiences to help educate other people. All of the athletes that I spoke to have a desire to help. And it's part of their desire to ensure that nobody else does what they did. And also knowing that most athletes are only really going to listen when it comes from someone who knows what they're going through. It's all to do with an athlete being able to complete what we call a redemption loop, so that they can feel like everything they went through had a purpose and they've given back to society.
What do you think is the main reason why sports people or athletes might commit crimes?
Oh, blimey, sorry.
Okay.
That's a massive question. That is like the golden question. So there are many, many reasons why an athlete might commit crime. It could be because of when their sport comes to an end, there's a loss of attachment. So we know that people tend to avoid committing crimes when they feel bonded to society. And that kind of bonding to society provides them with an attachment, a focus, interest, a commitment to a belief system and a part of something. And when sport ends, those bonds are fractured. And hopefully they get replaced by other bonds. But if they aren't replaced, it makes an athlete vulnerable and susceptible to other ways of feeling a connection, and therefore they could be vulnerable. We know it will end. It always ends quicker than we want. That's just life as an athlete, but there's a lot we can be doing while we're playing, while we're performing. Leaving it towards the end is too late, because it's too hard when you're still trying to train and compete to be able to be planning for your future. If you've always done it, it's not going to be much of a change for you.
We're in Brighton, the vibrant hometown of former Olympian and record-breaking marathon swimmer Alice Deering. Despite the cold, grey skies above, Alice's sunny spirit shines through. Just 3 years ago, she made waves in the 10-kilometre marathon swim, finishing an impressive 19th in the Olympics, proving that even the toughest conditions are no match for her determination.
I got into the elite stage quite quickly, to be honest. So from about age 11, I was already swimming 7-8 times a week. And it honestly doesn't change much from there to like my 20s. I progressed to 10 times a week. So it's a lot of training, very, very condensed, mentally taxing, to be honest. Obviously the physical aspect is there, but I think what was often forgotten about a little bit is the mental side and how difficult that is for athletes. So, and that's the bit that I mostly struggled with throughout my career. So yeah, it was a lot. When I say it out loud, especially after being retired for a year now, it's I wonder where I found the time, to be quite honest. Like I look at my watch and it's already 9 o'clock and I'm like, oh wow, I normally have done 2 hours in the pool by now. So I'm really enjoying being retired, but I'm very grateful for the amount of effort that I was able to put in for so long.
And did you find the time to sort of unwind, relax and sort of do stuff in your spare time?
Yeah, I did, to be honest. I'm a big advocate of that. I think it's really important that athletes do have a life away from, for me, the pool, but for other people, the track, the field, whatever it may be, because we are more than just an athlete and we're more than just our performances. I really like playing video games, so I would get home and I would jump on my PlayStation, play some Overwatch, play some Persona, Witcher, just whatever I felt like to kind of escape from all of the boring swimming that I was doing sometimes, especially being a distance athlete. 10K open water swimming was my event, so I did some very, very long and boring sessions. So my escape would be going and playing video games and just forgetting about life for a couple hours.
But the culmination of it all, in 2020, you were the first black woman to represent GB in that event at Tokyo.
Yes, yeah.
How did that feel?
Yeah, I'm really proud of that achievement. To become the first black woman to swim for Great Britain was something that I kind of thought was crazy at the time. Like it's mad that I was the first in 2020. It's kind of like a bittersweet in terms of, I wish I didn't have to frame my swimming career around my race, but it's a very important message that I'm trying to send, because unfortunately a lot of black people don't swim, a lot of Asian people don't swim, and of course a lot of white people don't swim as well, but there are some very specific issues which the black and Asian communities face when getting in water. So I'm trying to use my my voice, my platform, whatever I can to encourage more people to swim, because it is a life skill. We all should know how to do it, and I want to platform that as much as possible.
After 18 years in competitive swimming, Alice decided to step away from the sport, a decision that was sparked after failing to qualify for Paris 2024.
The thing that was really inspiring me to swim was the chance of another Olympic Games, and LA is just too far away for me. You know, I was 26 at the time. It's kind of those considerations. If I want a family, if I want to start a career in something else, I don't want to be getting out of the sport age 30 and then having to start fresh then. So yeah, I took the moment to retire, and it was difficult but an easy decision, if that makes sense. Like, it hurt at the time because I was really enjoying the sport. It was actually the most I'd ever enjoyed swimming, which is crazy to say. So I'm happy I was able to finish on an emotional high. But at the same time, it was such an easy decision because I felt like I was ready to move on with my life. So it's been a really good and fun year. It's had some highs and lows, but a bit more steady and exciting in a different way than my competitive swimming career.
Stepping away has been the right choice for Alice. Yet she's only been away from the sport for less than a year. So what's it like when you've been retired for a lot longer? Does it get easier? And does the sense of identity as an athlete ever leave you?
It's difficult to put into words, really, like how amazing it is. It's been a long time since I won my first, so I'm going to savour this moment, I'm going to enjoy this moment, I'm going to stay in my kit for as long as possible and just really enjoy the moment.
You may know Charlie Hodgson as the all-time leading point scorer in the Premiership. A rugby union legend with a 16-year career that saw him represent England, the British and Irish Lions, and top clubs like Sale Sharks and Saracens. He stepped away from the sport 8 years ago, but has the game really ever left him?
I suppose I've not really spoken about it properly other than with my wife and a therapist.
Totally, it's totally up to you.
No, well, I'm happy to share. I mean, like,
I reached a point where I just kind of broke down. I was like, I don't really know what's going on. I feel very low. I don't really quite understand where I'm at with life, with work, with lots of different things. And it reached a point where I was just like, I've got to do something. I took some time off work and just started to reflect on what I wanted and what I needed to do. Started speaking to a therapist who was very helpful. Explored lots of different things around breath work, and don't know, I never thought I'd even think about breath work before, but I found it and meditation, but found them really beneficial. And that whole process of kind of talking and understanding and moving forward has been really helpful. And thankfully, I've got a very, very understanding wife who's supported me through everything. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey. But as I say, I feel like I certainly feel the turn of the new year has been a new start, and it's been good. I feel energised to move forwards now.
Today, Charlie runs his own business as a rugby coach and mentor. He's also launched Rugby Buddy, helping young athletes to excel both on and off the field.
Hey, Charlie Hodgson here, and welcome to Rugby Buddy. As a former professional rugby player for Sale Sharks, Saracens, England and the British and Irish Lions, I understand the trials and tribulations associated with rugby world, and I'm all too aware of how difficult it can be.
So what you're doing now through Rugby Buddy and Switch Up the Play, you're helping younger athletes. If you could go back and speak to your younger self, what would you tell them?
Get support early. Find a trusted group of people that you want to work with, whether that's a psychologist, whether that's somebody that's going to help you with career transition, whether that's a financial advisor, I don't know, but like a small group of people that you know that they're in your corner, and work closely with them so that when you come out the other side, you're in the best possible shape. Sport was a part of my life, and I learnt a lot from it, and I want to be able to use that experience and guide other people through that period themselves.
In a study by the Professional Players Association, 1 in 10 report they were disappointed with their sporting career, but this increases to 1 in 5 amongst those who've experienced health, addiction or financial problems. With 223 wickets from 63 test matches to his name, former England fast bowler Steve Harmison knows firsthand the ups and downs as well as the realities of life after retirement. His award-winning talkSPORT podcast, After the Lights Go Out, even deals with this very issue.
When you leave professional sport, it's like coming out of a supermarket with heavy shopping bags and not knowing where your car is. Because the simple fact is, the longer you've got them bags in your hand, or the longer you're not earning, the longer you're not got a next step when you leave the game, whatever sport you're in, the anxieties that come with that are massive. You've still got to pay bills, you've got a mortgage, you've lived a lifestyle, you've got kids, they need feeding, they need clothing, they need schooling. And all of that is a struggle. And that is where, if you have a governing body that looks after you, and the Professional Cricket Association is very, very good, it could be better, but I think all organisations, I don't know about any other sports, but I think the coping mechanism of coming out of that, there is a lot more now help than there was, say, 25 years ago. 25 years ago, I think cricket was a worrying sport of, well, the highest divorce rate in sport was cricket. The highest suicide rate in sport was cricket. And they went hand in hand. And that was just not having a plan of transition out of the game into civilian life, or the next step. And I think all of that I've just described was a knock-on effect to where it went. So I was quite fortunate I had financial resources to look after to get through to the next point. I'd had a name in the game, so I think I was more marketable, as in from a media point of view. So you weren't earning the same as what you were earning playing cricket, but you were earning 75%, 60% of what you were, compared to completely stop, earning nothing. What am I going to do now? I'm 35 years old. I've got no trade. I didn't even go to school. Where's my next step? If I'd come out of the game at, say, 29 without playing for England, I might have been in a different place.
The journey out of professional sport isn't without its obstacles, but it can be a journey worth taking. With the right support, the end of a career can form the beginning of something even greater. But it does beg the question, can you truly have a healthy relationship with professional sport?
Part of me wants to say yes, but part of me also wants to say no. So, but I think we do have a lot of systems in place to keep athletes safe across a variety of sports. But it's often on the athlete to make sure they are prioritising their sanity and their mind and their body over their sports performance, which is a really difficult thing to ask an athlete to do, because most of the time I wasn't able to do that.
Yes, it is, but it depends on the environment that you are in. So professional sport is unhealthy is the first thing that we have to accept and realise. To push yourself to places you've never been, that you might not even be capable of going to, or places that no one on earth in history has ever done, it's going to require something that isn't deemed to be healthy. Exercise is healthy, professional sport is not.
Good question. Being a professional athlete is a privilege, and it's one that I enjoy doing. I know it's hard to finish doing that, but yeah, I think it's possible. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, if you know what you're trying to achieve, you take every element one step at a time, you get a good team around you, you don't give up, and you realise that, you know, to be a champion is very far and few between, but don't give up on yourself. It's worth it in the end, because careers are short, life's short. I can always say I'm double Olympic champion, no one will take that away from me.
Beyond the game lies opportunity, growth, and a chance to redefine what success truly means. After all, these athletes are in fact living proof that there is indeed life after professional sport.
I am whole and complete. I am powerful beyond measure. Then I forget it. Then I forget it some more. Then I forget it a lot. Then I get worried and scared because I can't find it. Then I listen to you tell me how to get there. So I worry about how to do that right and whether I'm doing it wrong and whether I'm getting there. Then I wonder what I need to do powerful again. So I start to think it's some distant place out there that I may never fully arrive at. So I make do with a new me, an incomplete me, a scared and concerned me. I start to try to believe in myself, but I never had to believe before. Why would I need to believe in something I already am? Maybe I only need to believe in something that is not me. Maybe the only thing I need to do is just remember.